So bringing it back home here now, in just a few hours, more witnesses are expected to testify in the Derek Chauvin trial. This comes after a use of force expert told the jury yesterday that Chauvin's actions were justified when he arrested George Floyd last year. For more analysis now, I want to bring in attorney and host on the Law and Crime Network, Jesse Weber. Jesse, thank you so much for joining us. So, let us talk about this use of force expert that was called by the defense yesterday, who told the defense lawyer that Chauvin's actions were reasonable. We've heard the word reasonable in a lot of different ways during this trial. Reasonable, but then, you know, under cross-examination, he faced some tough questions from the prosecution. I want to play a little bit of his testimony.
I felt that Derek Chauvin was justified and was acting with objective reasonableness, following Minneapolis Police Department policy and current standards of law enforcement in his interactions with Mr. Floyd.
If Mr. Floyd actually experienced pain, would that change your opinion? Would it be then a use of force if pain was actually inflicted upon Mr. Floyd?
If the pain was inflicted through the prone control, then yes, I would say that was a use of force.
So the prosecution called multiple witnesses. Oh, so let me I'll just kind of set the scene for people who may not have seen. The prosecution called a number of witnesses, right, that said over and over again that they were very critical of Chauvin's use of force. And in fact, one of our experts that we talk to sort of regularly, who's a defense attorney, said that it was almost too many experts saying the same thing over and over again. So then you got to wonder what the weight of this use of force expert is going to be like for the jury, particularly with that sort of cross-examination. But you had something to say, so have at it.
First of all, good morning. Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is very broad. And anybody who's followed these kinds of cases before, when you're trying to have an expert defend a police officer's actions, this is somebody that you would think that they would call. He actually defended the actions of Jason Van Dyke out in Illinois in the Laquan McDonald case. Obviously, that resulted in a conviction of that former officer. So I wasn't surprised that he was called, and I wasn't surprised that he ultimately said that Chauvin's actions were reasonable. And the reason he said is when you put somebody in that position, it's not necessarily use of force. What I was surprised about was the fact that at the end of the day, he looked more like a state witness than a defense witness, because as we just heard, he conceded a number of points. He conceded that George Floyd might have been in pain. He conceded that this might have been use of force. And in one of the most outrageous claims, he basically said, well, you know, George Floyd continued to be, you know, maybe a threat. And the reason he wasn't complying is, well, his hands weren't resting comfortably in the small of his back. So, and this is something the prosecutor jumped on. You're telling me that him being pushed to the ground, hands handcuffed behind him, he should be resting comfortably. That was the moment when I think the jury said, I don't think this witness is so credible. I don't think this expert is so credible in light of all of the experts and analysts we've seen from the prosecution side. That was a big, big point for the prosecution there.
You know, I got to tell you, Jesse, when I was watching yesterday, I found myself sort of periodically having to remind myself that we were listening to people testifying on behalf of the defense. You know, often I was like, this doesn't seem like it's, you know, putting Derek Chauvin in a good light. And I wondered where the defense was going. We heard from another police officer who was on the scene. He's a Minneapolis Park police officer named Peter Chang. The defense played Chang's body camera video in court, and he faced some questions about the crowd at the time. What do we learn from his testimony?
He was called for one specific reason, to basically say that the crowd, he felt, was becoming aggressive, that they were becoming hostile. He kept an eye as best as he could because at the time he was dealing with two other witnesses on the scene. And that's great because if you're the defense, you're trying to say, well, the crowd was becoming an issue and maybe they were a distracting issue, and that's why you couldn't focus all of your attention on George Floyd. I don't think that's a particularly strong argument, but I understand why he was called. The problem with that, again, is that under cross-examination, he conceded the fact that if this crowd was such a threat, how come none of the officers called for backup? He at no point left his position to go help his fellow officers. There was a crowd developing, and we understand that. but based on the testimony we have continually heard throughout this case, when you're dealing with the threat of a crowd versus a situation of holding someone to the ground in a prone position, a suspect, your focus should be on that person, not on the teenagers with cell phones. And I think that's a really big point. Again, I understand where the defense was going. I understand the argument they're making. I just don't think it was as effective as they wanted it to.
We also heard about another incident involving police with George Floyd, a 2019 incident. The judge was really sort of specific about the types of questions that could be asked. Why did he put parameters on those questions?
Because what you don't want is the jury looking at George Floyd being arrested in 2019 and thinking he's a bad character and use that in their assessment of what Derek Chauvin did. It's completely understandable. At the same time, that 2019 arrest is important because it shows, well, what was his behavior at that time in terms of, did he ingest drugs? What effect did that have on him? It's not about his emotional response. It's about his physical response. And if, one of the witnesses who testified yesterday said that his heart rate was so high that, she was concerned he had to go to the hospital. Now you're thinking 2020, he's arrested again. Maybe he did something to himself. His own body just couldn't take it anymore, and it wasn't Chauvin's actions. I will say this. I've said it before. I'll say it again. The defense wanted this in. Big problem for them because George Floyd lived in 2019. He didn't live in 2020, and you're dealing with officers who got involved in very similar circumstances. So as much as the defense wanted to bring that out, if you're a prosecutor at a closing argument, that's what you said.
Yeah, totally. Jesse Weber, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.